Being in a constant flow state is the state that we would all ideally like to be in for 24 hours of the day. However, how do we get in a flow state? What does it take? And what exactly is a flow state? In this video, I'm going to be talking about how you can get in a flow state when it comes to day-to-day activities and also in a social environment. The shortest and most simplest answer for being in a constant flow state is when your skill level meets the challenge ahead of you. An example myself of where I've experienced many flow states is when I've been playing football. When I've been playing a team maybe a similar level to myself, the challenge ahead has been of a decent level, so naturally it's been a challenge for myself. I'm living to my edge, whereas anxiety would begin to creep in if the challenge began to become too hard for myself. I'd be feeling like I'm not enough and maybe it's not even worth trying, and ultimately having the challenge of the opposition being significantly worse than my standard, which would be pretty hard, would also encounter negative feelings for myself such as boredom and complacency. There's a chapter in the book The Way of the Superior Man which I've actually got to the side of me today, which is called Live Beyond Your Edge. And in this chapter I'm just going to open it up for you and I'm just going to read a segment of this. It's actually called Lean Just Beyond Your Edge. So if you're familiar with this book, you might have read it yourself, but this really, it got me thinking of the idea of being in a flow state, and I think it really resonates with being in a social kind of flow state as well. So to start this book, it says, in any given moment, a man's growth is optimized if he leans just beyond his edge, his capacity, his fear. He should not be too lazy, happily stagnating in the zone of security and comfort, nor should he push far beyond his edge, stressing himself unnecessarily, unable to metabolize his experience. He should lean just beyond the edge of fear and discomfort, constantly in everything he does. And this is a book that I really like, and I go back to most days and just recap a lot of it, but this chapter significantly is one that I go back to a lot. And what this means is you should just be living off to the edge of your potential. A lot of it comes down to your potential and what you are capable of, and you should be leaning just where it feels challenging enough. You shouldn't be living a life where it is complacent, everything becomes mundane. And I think this kind of links a lot back to having a 9-to-5 job. A lot of people do end up getting complacent in that type of environment where it just becomes so easy to just kind of stick in that environment and just kind of walk through life without even having to think. You're kind of AFK, you're just not really actually there. So that's kind of from a day-to-day life kind of activity to be in a social, to be in a flow state. But now to get into a social flow state, let's consider it from a social perspective. So let's say you are someone who does struggle to talk to new people, and you continuously kind of have that fear of regret, that you feel you should have just gone up to that girl, you should have gone and spoke to that guy who maybe could have gave you a lot of opportunities when it came to a career, a business setting. But it feels just a bit too daunting for you to go over there and initiate conversation. You get these anxious thoughts of, what am I going to say? What if he thinks this? And I completely resonate with all these kind of thoughts and limiting beliefs because I've been there myself. And even now, when I've kind of implemented the advice that I'm giving you today, I still have these moments where I do struggle. So let's consider skill v challenge, which is, if you take one thing from this video, that is what being in a constant flow state. So if you're thinking of, how do I get in that flow state, how do I get of that feeling of bliss, of where time just is not an issue, where I'm just focused completely on the task ahead, you have to do something where it is challenging for your level of skill. You're leaning just beyond your edge, as it says in The Way of the Superior Man. And for someone who is a beginner, if you're going to go in with the expectation that you're going to go have that in-depth conversation with this person, with this girl, with this guy who could lead you to some career opportunities, you're naturally going to feel quite anxious and nervous. It's going to feel like a big deal to you because you've not had these social situations before. And I know from my experience that is definitely the case. And I think the best thing to do, and a lot of the advice that I've given you, I made a video about increasing your confidence, is you got to start with the basics. It's the same with everything in life. If you just start with saying, hi, how are you doing? Or nice to meet you, your level of anxiety is naturally going to decrease every single time. Yes, you're not going to exactly get the results that you want to immediately. You might not get that girl's number. You might not secure that deal that you really wanted to. But it's a lot better than nothing, isn't it? And it's a lot better than that feeling of regret, which we've all had at some point in our life. But you've got to remember, everyone's got to start somewhere, and next time it's going to become slightly more easier, and you're going to be able to maybe lead that conversation, and the ability for it to go further and further is only going to increase. I always like to think of it from a gym perspective, as someone who started the gym with very, very low confidence and low ability, very skinny, never really been to the gym before up until around 2 years ago. I couldn't just walk into the gym and bench 100 kg. I can't even do that now. So you've got to practice and level up every single time. You've got to find your current skill level in whatever it may be that you're trying to improve in life, whether it's a social condition or a business point of view, or going to the gym or a sport, and you practice and level that up every single time. You have probably experienced that feeling in the gym or somewhere else. It comes, and the more you become aware of it, you realize this is the way you have to go in pretty much every aspect of your life. You want to speak to everyone that you see when it comes to a social setting. Now, you might think, oh, I don't really want to speak to them, like I'm not really going to benefit anything, they're not attractive, or I don't think I'm going to gain anything from having this conversation, which may be true, but this is going to increase your chances of having that good conversation when it comes to you seeing that person that you do want to speak with, because you're naturally socially lubed up, as I mentioned before, which is a bit of a weird kind of way to describe it. But think of it, if you spoke to everyone, 10 people you've seen, you feel like you're the most confident guy in the room, it's going to be easy for you to go speak to that 11th person. They're just another person to you. You're probably going to be feeling way more confident than they are, even though they may be way less confident than you anyway. And I'm sure you've been in that situation. If it sounds kind of daunting at this moment, if you're not like in that flow, and at the start of each day when we wake up, and maybe you're naturally quite introverted, you're not a confident person naturally like myself, you feel it's a big task, it's a big challenge to go and speak to people that you want to speak with. But the more and more you do it, you just interact, these little hi, how are you doing, smiling, just little things. It becomes a lot easier when you go speak to that person that you actually want to speak to. And the more and more you do this, the easier, the more in-depth conversations, the more you're going to feel confident to just go and say what you think and what you want to say. But yeah, like I say, you probably don't think this is possible. You're going to probably have the limited beliefs that, oh yeah, it's a lot harder than that. But trust me, I've been there myself, and I know what it's like to just not be able to speak to anyone. But this I believe is the most effective method in getting in a flow state and interacting and just being in that social flow of just speaking to everyone that you want to speak with. And particularly, like I say, if you want to go speak to that person, you see that girl there, you see that person that you've always wanted to speak with, but you've not spoken to anyone else for the whole day, you're going to find that very challenging to then go have a conversation with them and actually say anything that you want to say. So I think that's all I have for today, and I think my camera's about to die, so I don't want this video to just not get posted because the camera dies. So I'm going to wrap it up today. And like I say, I hope the one thing you take is skill v challenge when you want to get into that flow state. That is the ultimate state that any human wants to be in. So I hope this video has helped you get into that state. If it has, please do let me know in the comments. I hope this video has helped you. And if you want a deeper, more in-depth understanding on how to get in a flow state, whether that be a social situation or maybe a new activity, a new challenge starting your business, then the link will be below to work with me. I've got a couple of good offers there, so get in there quick before they go. So thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.